Welcome back to the Budget Gamer channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a really interesting indie puzzle game called Nuclien. Now before we get into the review of Nuclien, if you haven't seen the review for Reynard, which was released last Friday, feel free to take a look at that one because there actually is a game giveaway. Just to make sure everyone has a chance to participate, I'm going to leave the giveaway going until August 24th. That's this coming Friday, so make sure you like the video and leave a comment if you want a chance at winning that free copy. Alright, back to the review. So Nuclien is actually an incredibly simple game, and it's one of those games that its simplicity really is its defining characteristic in just how amazing it really is. But unlike Sudoku, it really doesn't take a lot of thought and agony to make sure you get the right ones. It only takes your ability to count. So if you can count from 0 to 9 and 9 to 0, you should technically be able to beat every single level of this game on every difficulty mode. But that is where it gets difficult. Even though I've had this game for nearly a month now, and I keep going back to it on an almost daily basis, even the levels I've beaten over and over still present a unique challenge. And that's because unlike numeric mind puzzles like Sudoku or other puzzles where you need to move and solve things, this really does only rely on your quick reflexes for working the numbers into that sequential pattern. The entire game itself is divided up into 4 worlds that are almost like the worlds of biology, with bacterial, plant, animal, and then human. And the overall theme of each world is that through each of these puzzles you are sequentially going through encoding DNA strains. Though it doesn't have much to do with Nuclien's gameplay, it does allow for some pretty cool visual aesthetics and does supply some continuity with themes. In the first world, you're merely doing number sequences in very short patterns as quickly as possible. Moving to the next world, the next increase in difficulty, you're dealing only with numbers that are in small circles, which must be solved regardless of how many of each number there are in sequence of highest to lowest. The next world, moving up even more complicated, is where you're dealing with numbers that are encapsulated in squares. These squares, also regardless of how many of each number are on the screen at one time, must be solved from lowest to highest. And as difficulty increases in both of these middle worlds, not only does the speed increase, but the number of numbers. Sometimes to the point where the entire screen is filled with multiples of every single integer that need to be solved in whichever case's particular order. Every mistake drops the timer down a little bit, but every sequence of the DNA that you're solving adds a bit more time to the timer. The penalties aren't severe, but due to the sheer volume of numbers, sometimes this can actually get pretty difficult. The final stage, the human biome of this number puzzles game, deals with both circle and square number patterns, meaning that in the same game screen in the same puzzle, you may be encountering numbers that need to be solved from top to bottom, and numbers that need to be solved from the bottom to the top. And if you think this is hard enough, it actually has a step that goes even further. In each of the 3 later worlds of this puzzle game, there's actually a stage of the puzzle toward the end of each of the worlds, which breaks away from using the smaller numbers and using larger ones. Now while these larger numbers may just seem like they're easier to hit because there can't be as many on the screen, tapping any larger number in sequence has the potential to break it down into 4 smaller numbers. These smaller numbers will play into the entire game's number sequence. So if you're counting down from 9 to 8, because there's only 2 bubbles on the screen, and you pop one of them, this could mean that now there are 5 numbers on the screen. Popping the next in total sequence of large and small numbers would give you 7 or 8 integers on the screen to solve through. The very last biome, the human biome though, puts its own difficult spin on this as well. Because regardless of which larger digit you may be solving for, as soon as it fractures into smaller digits, those can indeed be any number from the circle or the square groups. Meaning that a single larger circle or square integer could fracture into multiple circles and multiple squares or either one. This new difficulty level is incredibly challenging because again you are facing a timer, and every mistake causes you to lose a little bit of time. But again, the real beauty of the game, regardless of the difficulty of the challenge, is in its absolute simplicity. All you have to do is count up or down from 0 to 9 or 9 to 0. And it's this incredible level of simplicity that makes every mistake a new personal challenge. And it gives every failure that just one more time kind of feeling. Nuclien is one of those rare gems that is so simple that you probably won't actually find game coverage on it, but it's so satisfying that I don't know why more people aren't talking about it. Anyway, if you are a fan of puzzle games, number games, Sudoku, or maybe even if you're a cuber at heart, Nuclien might be a game that you'd really want to try out. It's definitely on the lower price point of games, and it's something that you could easily play for 2 seconds or 2 hours. As many times as I've failed at its puzzles, I've never been frustrated, and as long as I've owned it, I've always gone back. It is touchscreen only, so if you're really not a fan, there is that to consider, but for this type of game, I think it's absolutely perfectly suited. Anyway, that about wraps up the review of Nuclien, and if you liked the video or found it helpful, feel free to throw me a comment or leave a like to show your support. And don't forget about the giveaway of Reynard that was released on Friday. If you watch that review, it'll tell you the details of how to get involved, and maybe get yourself a free copy of the game. Anyway, don't forget to hit that little bell icon when you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with the newest content. These videos are coming out 2-3 times a week, so there's always going to be something new to find. Anyway, this has been Budget Gamer, so as always, thanks for watching.